What is going on, guys? Mikkel here, and today we are talking about Alliance Block. I was pretty surprised because I got a lot of comments to talk about Alliance Block on some of my other videos, so I had to cover it for you guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like it down below, comment what you think, and subscribe for more videos. Also, make sure you check out some of the other videos on my channel because you might find some investments you haven't heard about and might have a similar thesis to me, and you might want to learn more about them. So make sure you check out some of those videos. But let's jump right into Alliance Block. And Alliance Block is a project I hold. To be completely honest with you, I've done a lot of research recently in preparation for this video, and it has made me a lot more bullish on the project. I was already very impressed with the project for multiple reasons, mostly because of their partners. But now I'm starting to see what Alliance Block really is trying to do, and it's extremely impressive. And I think I will be probably trying to add some Alliance Block here in the future. So let's jump right into it. And guys, if you want to learn about other projects, make sure you comment down below which ones you want to hear about, because I'd love to do videos on stuff you guys want to see. So yeah, feel free to put them down. To start, I just want to play this quick 3-minute video on Alliance Block's website, because this is like, hearing it from them is one of the most important things, but then I'm going to break down why I make it easier to understand and why I think what they're saying is, and why it's so important. So let's jump right into it.
As decentralized finance emerges rapidly, traditional finance institutions are only watching from the sidelines, unable to participate in the massive innovations, mainly due to compliance and regulatory restrictions. The question has become how to connect traditional finance markets with the decentralized and digital asset markets in order to allow a seamless and compliant flow of capital between both worlds. At Alliance Block, we aim to bridge traditional finance and DeFi to add value to both areas and therefore create the future of finance. The Alliance Block protocol will help financial institutions eliminate inefficiencies and take advantage of the potential of DeFi. We will enable much greater access to DeFi products, which will see billions of dollars flow into the space. In doing so, we will unlock DeFi for the world. We are building the protocol as a series of interconnecting but independent modules. These modules will combine to form the Alliance Block protocol.
One thing I want to point out here, sorry if we just go back a tiny bit, you can see they kind of sneak some of their partners into this slot, into this visual, which I think was pretty cool. We can see Quant right here, which is a very impressive partner that both them and Quant list that they're working together. And we also have API 3 here, which I think is a very interesting Oracle project, doing similar things to Chainlink, but there's going to be multiple Oracle winners in the future. And if Chainlink is any guide for what API 3 is going to do in the future, there could be some massive potential there. But I'm going to keep playing this video.
Block protocol, but can also operate as standalone products. The initial product set includes 7 products. One of these products is our trustless Know Your Customer and Anti-Money Laundering Identity Verification module. This will allow users to prove their identity in a trustless manner, while also giving them control of their data. This module feeds into our cross-border regulatory compliance rule engine, another module. Once verified, users can share their data across the wider Alliance Block protocol and start using the product while being compliant with the regulations in different jurisdictions. This includes products such as our compliant peer-to-peer lending, borrowing, and investment protocol, which will allow the likes of wealth managers to digitize real-world assets and have investors lend against them. It will also feed into our DeFi investment terminal, which will give users access in real-time, granular, and actionable blockchain data, and aims to be the DeFi Bloomberg terminal. Our data tunnel module will make it easy for anyone to publish, monetize, use, and analyze data. Our pricing engine will provide derivatives and structured product pricing and cutting-edge risk analytics. This will be able to, for example, solve the risk of impermanent loss for liquidity providers. It will be open to all DeFi liquidity mining programs. All of our products rely on data, and our final module is our on-chain investment data API. Our API will house both on-chain data from multiple blockchains, as well as data from specialist providers. This can be used by DeFi partners such as Parsec, Chainlink, and API3, as well as traditional firms aiming to build new innovative trading algorithms. These first 7 modules represent the foundations of the Alliance Block ecosystem and a fully decentralized, globally compliant capital market, which will allow both traditional finance and decentralized finance players to connect, interact, and eventually ensure a flawless capital flow between both worlds.
Alright guys, so I know that was probably, some parts of that were a little confusing, but let me break it down just to try to make this make a little more sense. So pretty much what Alliance Block is really trying to do is, when you think of blockchains, you really want to think of it as a certain protocol. And they're looking to have their protocol create regulatory compliance for institutions wanting to access the DeFi markets. Essentially, the current problem with institutions getting into DeFi is that the financial markets are extremely regulated, and most of the current DeFi protocols don't have any ways to incorporate regulatory compliance into them, because they really were originally made for the average person and investor, and not necessarily to be accessible to institutions. That being said, the yields in DeFi are nothing that can be obtained in the traditional market, and institutions want to jump on board and get into these markets. The problem is they can't because of regulatory compliance. Alliance Block is essentially looking to create a protocol that would allow these institutions to enter the DeFi market while maintaining regulatory compliance. This is really, really important because in the current market we're in, there's no ways to get a high yield in a safe way other than, such as like using a bank or something like that, or buying bonds. They're all extremely low yield, and there is risk to them. Not as much risk to DeFi, but you really aren't getting enough yield to make any of the capital tie-up even worth it. Institutions are not going to sit on the sidelines and watch retail investors get massive yields in DeFi and not do anything about it. They have to get involved because there's a ton of money to be made in the markets. Alliance Block is going to be a solution in order to get these institutions into the DeFi markets. If we look at some of their partners, we see some very interesting people too, such as the London Stock Exchange. This is a massive partner and is a great example of an institution looking to leverage the DeFi markets and taking advantage of the Alliance Block stack in order to get themselves in there. We could also see other very impressive partners like Quant, which is essentially an overledger project that I talk in some of my other videos. The cool thing about this is that Alliance Block, as you can tell, is really looking to be a back-end protocol connecting DeFi traditional finance. It doesn't seem like they really want to be, it really seems like they want to be more of a back-end thing that is utilized really with almost like you don't even notice it's there. I can see that working very good with Quant, which kind of wants to be a user interface to access all these different protocols at once. This is a great example of how something like Alliance Block and Quant can work seamlessly together. The average institutional would go through the Quant Overledger API to access back-end protocols like Alliance Block. And they would use Alliance Block to gain access to the DeFi markets in a regulatory compliant way. This is really massive stuff, and this is really the building blocks of how we're going to build a more regulated and compliant market in the future. We're going to keep going through this. I'm going to have to do another video on this in the future because I can already tell this is deep. This is a quick interview with a guy named Jack McDonald. He works at an absolute behemoth of a company called Standard Custody. They are looking to help institutions custody crypto assets, But I want you guys to listen to what he says. The biggest problem with institutions getting into DeFi is now, because I think it speaks a lot to what Alliance Block is trying to do.
We still have this kind of silos between DeFi and centralized.
In the traditional capital markets and the new innovative digital asset marketplace. A lot of the technology, obviously, that's been brought to bear through the crypto industry and DeFi specifically, I think will be adopted. In the end of the day, I don't think investors want to have two different platforms, two different ecosystems. You know, you turn to your right, you've got your dashboard, you've got all your machines for the crypto DeFi space, and then turn to your left and you've got a new set of dashboards and machines and plumbing for traditional capital markets. I think those will merge, and I think certainly what we're hearing from a lot of the institutional investors that we're speaking with is that, for better or for worse, they're thinking of digital assets as a new asset class that ultimately they would like to have sit on the same platform that their other assets sit on, whether that's trading, whether that's custody, whether that's reporting, risk reporting, fund administration, transfer agency, collateral management, etc. And obviously there are profound differences in the assets, but to the extent that the operational aspects can be streamlined, that's really the holy grail that the institutions look for. Because what we often find is the portfolio manager or the trader has been personally investing in crypto and DeFi, but their organizations aren't. And part of the reasons the organizations aren't doing it is because the operations people, the chief operating officers, the compliance people, look at the number of different considerations, and it's just a bridge too far for them to really comport all of their current operational flows into a digital asset space. And so
if you listen closely, essentially what he said right there was that there is a massive demand for these institutions to get into the DeFi market. The problem is it's hard for them to do it in a regulatory compliant way without raising all kinds of red flags. A lot of these businesses really want to get into DeFi, but they cannot risk breaking regulatory laws and creating massive lawsuits and having government agencies going after them. They need to get into DeFi, but they're going to have to use something like Alliance Block to access it in a regulatory compliant manner. The amount of money that is going to flow out of bonds into DeFi and other dead investment vehicles is going to be insane. Protocols like Alliance Block are going to be the foundation of how that money comes over to these markets in a regulatory compliant fashion. I know I keep stressing that, but that's really the most important thing Alliance Block is trying to do. I wanted to show you right now, this was a tweet, I think, in their Telegram. What they're currently saying here is the current jurisdictions that they're working very closely with is the USA, Singapore, Philippines, France, Switzerland, UK, Netherlands, Germany, and the UAE. They're literally going to these regulators and trying to get yes or no answers. What do we need to have? Do we need this? Do we not need this? And this is great because we want to see them working with top-tier regulators in the world so that when other institutions go to use the Alliance Block protocol, they already know everything's checked off and they're all set. This takes out a lot of the questions because then rather than every institution having to go to these regulators separately and ask these questions, they can just use Alliance Block and know they're in a good standing with all the regulators. And this is the stuff, like, this, in my opinion, is a great building block project. It's not as flashy as some of the other things out there, but it's like a core infrastructure piece that's going to be needed, and they seriously have some real deal partners showing that once this starts to get more adopted, a lot of the other players are going to follow these other people into Alliance Block. I wanted to show you right now, they say our solutions are already extended to major protocols, and that includes Ethereum, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, which is a monster, Elrond, and Energy Web. I think this is just going to keep on growing, and it shows that I always talk about technology validation. This shows that massive protocols are already looking to leverage their own protocol, and I can see Alliance Block really being a stepping stone to really essentially what they say bridge traditional finance to DeFi, and almost a necessary step because institutions aren't going to want to wait around and seek this compliance on their own. If they can utilize Alliance Block and already know they're regulatory compliant, that is going to be a massive step to bridge the gap between these two financial systems. One thing I wanted to point out, this was actually by another company I invest in, Circle, and make sure you check out my video on that because I think Circle's a monster in the crypto industry. Essentially saying that DeFi is growing over 300% year over year. I'm pretty sure they actually said 8,000% somewhere else. I don't know what that's about, but yeah, DeFi is 300% year over year. DeFi is not going away. If anything, it's going to be growing faster and faster. Right now, we've really only seen the initial surge from the retail into DeFi, but big money is going to show up because they're going to be chasing yields that they cannot get in the traditional financial system. There's so much more you can do in DeFi. Institutions are going to have to show up because once a couple start getting in, the ones that don't are just going to be on the losing end of it, and they're going to follow the big guys in. If the big guys are using Alliance Block to make themselves regulatory compliant, which I think they will because it will prevent them from having to get the clarity on their own, all the other players are going to follow them in through the same mechanisms. I just want to go over their token utility. It's really just used for staking to secure the network. But one thing I also did find interesting is that the network fees, while small, do burn a small amount of Alliance Block tokens. This is something I like to see just because it puts some deflationary pressure. And they also do token burns, which I also think was pretty interesting, between the main company that I guess works on the Alliance Block protocol. I thought that was kind of cool. I mean, I don't think in terms of everything we've been talking about, it's way more massive. This is just something to keep in mind because, like, hey, your tokens are becoming more rare with time, so it's just something to consider. I want to show you guys this, and I know this isn't Alliance Block, but this is essentially logarithmic scales of different heavily adopted protocols over time. A lot of times we look at the linear chart, and they get so drawn out and so, what do you want to call it, parabolic, that it's hard to see how much they've really risen with time. This shows, like, projects, and I'm sure Alliance Block would be even lower. Projects that, like these, that are relatively unknown, how much room they really have to run. I mean, Quant looks like, on a linear chart, looks like it's already way higher than a lot of these other projects, but these other projects have been around for a long time, and it really shows that there really is a lot of room for these projects to blow up in the future. One last thing I did want to show you guys that I forgot to pull up the tab for. So if we just go to CoinMarketCap, just because I like to show you guys the price, Alliance Block is currently sitting at about $1. It kind of hit the markets around a penny, I would say. So it is up a lot. I mean, this chart doesn't really look parabolic at all to me. I would assume this would make new all-time highs around $5, $10 or something like that. The current circulating supply is 200 million, and there's going to be max at about 1 billion tokens. I don't think this really matters. I'm not a huge believer that the actual amount of tokens matter, because in the end it's just the amount of tokens times the token price at the time, and these projects are always going to be compared based on market cap anyway. So either you have more tokens that are worth less amount, or you have less tokens worth more of an amount. I don't think it really matters. But anyway, guys, I don't really think it's too early to get into Alliance Block. I think you could still see a big pullback down to this 60-cent level. I think that would kind of be a great buying opportunity. I don't see this going much lower than it was back here. I think we're still relatively early to this project. It's ranked 255 on CoinMarketCap. I can easily see this getting its way in the top 100, maybe even the top 25 one day. Anyway, guys, I know this video is getting long. Make sure you like the video. If you're still here to the end, you're a fucking G. Subscribe for more. Yeah, and thanks for coming. For now, Mickle out.